You know, he never played in Portland, but still, you know, Wayne Embry, you are a trailblazer, sir. A pioneer in the world of sport and in civil rights history. His sterling example of commitment, dedication, and endurance serves as a template for others. Take a look.
Wayne Richard Embry was a true pioneer, making a lasting and historic impact on the game of basketball. Drafted in 1958, Embry's playing career spanned 11 seasons. He was a 5-time All-Star as a member of the Cincinnati Royals, a part of the 1968 Celtics championship team, and the following season, which would be his last, he was named the first captain of the Milwaukee Bucks. But his most notable accomplishments would come after his playing days were over. In 1971, Embry was hired by the Milwaukee Bucks to serve as their general manager, becoming the first African-American GM to serve in any major U.S. team sport. After leaving the Bucks, he accepted a similar role with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And in 1994, Embry made history again when he became president and COO of the Cavaliers, the first African-American to be named team president, and won 2 Executive of the Year awards during his time with the Cavaliers. He helped pave the way for such notable GMs as Brooklyn's Billy King and Detroit's Joe Dumars. And in 1999, Embry's contributions to the game were recognized as he was inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. Wayne Embry is one of the most influential executives in NBA history and will forever be remembered as a true barrier breaker.
The presenters for the award include Otis Birdsong, 4 times an NBA All-Star, played in the league for 12 years, and Alex Bartens, who's the Chief Executive Officer of the Orlando Magic, will also read the inscription. Gentlemen.
Thank you, Bob. Good evening. I'll be brief. I have the great honor of saying a few words on behalf of our final honoree, Mr. Wayne Embry, a man who I have admired and respected for quite some time. And as chairman of the board of directors for the NBA Retired Players Association, I now have the opportunity to interact with past Commissioner David Stern and current Commissioner Adam Silver, a host of NBA executives, a lot of current players, and a lot of former players, of course. And, you know, when you're talking about great players from the past and Wayne Embry's name come up, you know, some guys will say, yeah, I remember Wayne. He was a 5-time NBA All-Star. And some guys will say, oh, yeah, man, he won a championship with the Boston Celtics. And a few of them will even say, yeah, he was the Executive of the Year twice as an NBA general manager. But all, and all means each and every one of them, will say he's a man with great character, with an impeccable reputation. And that honor is greater than any award you can ever receive for someone to say that you have honor, you have integrity. That says it all. And I'm just happy that I can count him as a friend. Wayne Embry, thank you.
Thank you, Otis. And on behalf of Rich and Helen DeVos, we're honored to be here to recognize a true hero among us, amongst all the heroes that we've recognized tonight, not because of their accomplishments on the court or on the field, but really for what they did to use the power of sport to improve the lives of people around them. And that is the true recognition of Wayne Embry. Wayne, as you heard, has many accomplishments in our game, amongst the highest of accomplishments being inducted into our Hall of Fame. But his greatest accomplishment is being a pioneer for those who have come behind him. And I think the thing that he would tell you is the thing that he's most proud of is those executives who he's trained and brought along over the course of his career. And I count myself amongst them. Over 25 years ago, when I was getting started as a young executive in 1989 with the Orlando Magic, I remember Wayne Embry coming to town for the first time with his team and sitting in the stands as both of our teams were warming up on the court and talking to me personally about what I wanted to do in my career in the NBA. And he had a profound effect on me those 25 years ago, and that's the impact that he's had with everyone that he's touched in this game. And for that, I'm personally grateful. I know that everybody in our game and those that have been touched by Wayne are incredibly grateful for the influence, the character, and the pioneering spirit that he's brought to our game and those who have followed him. And with that, we'll read the inscription on the award, in that we honor you for the incredible achievements that you have made throughout your career as a professional basketball player and front office executive. Those achievements have played a significant role in society and have helped pave the way for those who only thought they could dream about success. You have inspired them to go after their dreams and opened up doors for their future. Our Giant Steps Hall of Fame inductee, Wayne Embry.
Thanks. Thank you, Otis and Alex, for those kind words. And what an inspirational evening. I want to congratulate all the award winners and just tell you what an inspiration you have been. And Frank, I just want to say that I congratulate you and thank you for taking the poison out of your pen. Thank you for your kind words. When you receive an honor, you think back, reflect back over your career, and just so many people that have had an inspiration to me and influence in my life. And of course, I got to start with my family, my parents, and my wife, my children, who have been great, very supportive and great inspiration to me during some very difficult times. And of course, you got coaches, your teammates, and people you work with who have been very supportive and have inspired me along the way. But there are people who really made a tremendous impact. And I start with Wes Pavlon, who had the courage to name me general manager in 1972 of the Milwaukee Bucks. And I even got to go back beyond that to get things in its chronological order, because sports has been a tremendous, tremendous thing for all of us in this room. And for me to have been able to play professional basketball and be engaged in professional basketball and sports for 50 plus years, it's just an amazing thing. But it all started in 1958 when I was chosen to play on the All-Star team in Raleigh, North Carolina. It was the first time I've ever gone south. And on the way there, back in the day when we had those old DC-3s, we had to stop and refuel. And the pilot says, you can get off the plane, go in, get a bite to eat, except pointed to myself and one other player that's chosen that team, who happened to be African-American. That was Hal Greer. He said, you two can't eat, so you can stay on the plane, they'll bring something out, we'll bring something out to you. And then we get to Raleigh, North Carolina, and we were greeted by one Joe Lapchick, Richard Lapchick's father, who was the coach of the North team. And he right away told us, he says, Wayne, Hal, it's not gonna be pleasant, but I got your back. And he took us under his arms, got us through the next 3 days, was there to comfort us when we couldn't stay in the hotel that the rest of the players stayed in. He was there to comfort us when we went to the movie, discovered we had to sit up in the balcony. And that which meant the most to me was at the end of our 3 days after having played the game, he says to me, "I'm going to recommend that the New York Knicks draft you." And that was important to me because my aspirations were to play for the Harlem Globetrotters. And I had never thought I had a chance to play in the NBA because there were very few of us at that time in the NBA. So I said, you know, my chances are slim there. So I wanted to be a Globetrotter. Well, history, as you saw, speaks for itself. And I had 11 great years. And after retiring, I went back to Boston, became director of recreation for the city, and that was another experience. But it was Wes Pavlon who brought me back to Milwaukee, and my first title was assistant to the president. I was in that job for a year, and then one bright sunny afternoon, he calls and says, "I want to meet you in my office." And I go over to his office, sit down. He says, "You're the new general manager of the Milwaukee Bucks." And I just sat there. I didn't say a word because I thought he was kidding. We had a general manager. Then he went on to explain that Ray Patterson had taken a job in Houston and that I was the general manager. Went home, told my wife. He says, "What's that mean?" He says, "Well, that means I'm the general manager of the Milwaukee Bucks." Well, how are we going? I said, "I'm the general manager. I couldn't back out. I couldn't do anything. Why would I?" And so I didn't know what was to come. And I got to say that for the most part, the acceptance was great. And I reflected back on the time when Jackie Robinson broke the barrier as a player with the Brooklyn Dodgers. And I kind of made my situation kind of similar to that. And I just remember the courage and the perseverance that Jackie Robinson had to do to go through what he went through early on as a player. But I was able to navigate through the early years, and with the help of my good friend Pat Williams here and some of the other general managers who embraced me and helped comfort me and get me through the early stages, I was able to adjust. And it was difficult because I was now managing players who had played for me. So that was a transition. After transitioning into the front office and managing players that I hung out with, played with, it was very difficult. But it got a little more difficult later on. And, you know, I thank all the people who were very supportive to me then during those phases. But there's another group of people that I want to thank. And it's a group of people that exist, but they don't always identify themselves. They send you letters. And in that letter, it tells you how you are not qualified to do this job. You don't belong in this job. And of course, they use the noun that we're very familiar with back in the 60s, 70s, and even today. And I vividly recall going to a game. I shared this story this afternoon with the students, and it's a story I talk about now more because at my age, I can't really be fearful of what might happen. Just be grateful that I'm still here and I'm able to stand before you this evening. But this one evening, we had a game early in the season, and I was in the press room, and the director of security came in and says, "Will you please come into the office? We need to talk to you." He says, "We received this letter," pulls it out, and I said, "Well, is that another one of those letters?" I said, "I get 2 or 3 of those a week." He said, "Yes, it's another one of those letters, but this is more significant in that he reached in his pocket, pulled a sniper bullet out of his pocket, and he put it on the table on top of the letter. And he said, 'This was on the letter in your box.' And as I read the letter, it says there are more that we have will be directed at you." And so he says, "I think maybe perhaps you better leave." And I says, "Well, I'm going to stay and watch the game." He says, "No, you better leave. Is your wife here?" And I said, "Yes, she's here." And someone brought my wife in the room, went through the same procedure, showed her the letter, showed her the bullet, says, "We want you to go home." And I says, "Terry, I think we should leave." And so we started to walk to our car. He says, "No, we're bringing the car inside, and someone else will drive your car. You'll get in another car because we don't want the persons to know which car you're in." So we got in another car, went home. On the way home, my wife says, "Wayne, are you going to stay in this job?" And I says, "Terry, yes, we are going to stay in this job. Why would you want to stay in a job where you're threatened?" I reminded her, I said, "Terry, remember you and Yvonne Robertson going to Selma, Alabama to march in the Selma March. And you were stoned, you were physically abused, you had to get in the back of a truck with a tarp over you with about 15 or 20 other people to get out of Selma to come back to Cincinnati." I said, "Do you recall that?" "Yes." "Well, I'm not going to allow you to have gone through that and quit doing this which I love, and we will not do it. We will stay here." And as it turned out, the rest of that season, I had a detail take me to and from work, and I had 2 FBI agents sit in my box for the rest of the season. To me, the people who posed that threat was a great inspiration, and I thank them because I was able to continue doing what I did. But I tell this story now because we have work left to do, and as I told the students this afternoon, they are going to be charged with responsibility to provide the leadership to continue on and promote diversity. And that's the great thing about sports, and I'll leave you with what I tell my team. Over the years, I tell my team, intelligence, character, and talent in that order is what wins championships. And to win, you must first compete. And to win, you have to have discipline, self-discipline, and you're prepared to compete every night. And the great component of sports is sportsmanship, which is synonymous with respect. And when you don't have respect, or to say that you have disrespect, disrespect creates hostility. Hostility creates hatred. And hatred brings conflict. And out of hatred come all the various isms. And when you think more about it, as we look at our world today, disrespect can destroy civilizations. Disrespect can destroy mankind. And so we in this room must protect the integrity of sport and what it has meant to all of us, because NCAS, the tremendous work that you've done, we cannot stay in neutral. And maybe in some instances we're in reverse. But we can't stay in neutral. We got to put it in overdrive, move forward, and make an impact in this world through sports. And so again, I challenge the young people who are in this room to carry forward that which we all have derived in the true meaning of sport, and all come together to work toward a common goal. That's to make a better place. And we're not going to go back. We cannot let it go back. We've got to get out of reverse. So let's put it in overdrive and move forward. And again, thank you for this evening. It's been very inspirational. God bless.